So we're hoping not to get flooded next week, right?
Floods would be bad.
I got my boot. I got boots, a life jacket. I'm driving down. I can bring a dinghy.
I think I'm bringing my inflatable kayak and my inflatable paddleboard, and I might just let the BMW float away since it got run into last night by a kid on an e-bike and it's got like this big crater. And it may have been my girlfriend's son's buddy that ran into it, but that's another story. But
hey guys, I think we're live.
Nutted. Well, shoot. So
this is the best intro we've ever had. No, this is the best intro we ever had.
Hey, welcome to another week of the Unnamed Cyber Talk. We got Bob, Chris, and Matt today, as usual, and that's not lost. But next week, we're going to be in Louisville at an event, and with the flood
drowning.
You got to say it right.
That was going on is what we were talking about because I called the hotel that I was at, that Chris and I are staying at, and they told me the floodgates are down, so they're safe.
Well, when we're there, you better not say Louisville. You gotta say Louisville, because if you say that, they're gonna or Louisville, they're gonna kick us out. You realize that, right?
Okay.
Well, they're gonna be. I mean, everybody's floating around, so maybe they'll like slowly try to paddle over and kick Bob's butt for saying it wrong.
Oh, so, I saw some dude. I saw some dude wakeboarding down a street. I don't even.
Maybe I really should bring the kayak. I mean, I'm driving anyway.
Obviously. The flooding's terrible. We seen this here in Michigan a couple of years ago where there's a highway that's kind of like really low ground and the pumps failed when we got a ton of rain. There's like 10 feet of water in there. People are out kayaking and stuff like in there. And the state police had to put out a warning saying, please don't do that because the water is like dirty and there's other things going on that you probably don't want to do. And yeah,
our floods a few years ago here was the same thing. Only it was actually a few miles from my house. There was a guy on a Sea-Doo just blasting through Bridgeville, about 10 miles south of Pittsburgh, and it was awesome. And then there's pictures of this guy on the Sea-Doo taking the Sea-Doo up to a truck where the trucker was stuck with his cat. And then, this was actually pretty awesome news.
Wow.
Do what you got to do.
That same time in the flood, one of our customers ended up with 5 inches of water in his factory. That and
dirty water too.
It was very expensive because it ended up nuking a bunch of equipment too. So
they're secure now because there's no technology left.
Matt, didn't you have a water issue in an office once?
I did. Actually, my first office. This is like 15 years ago. But yeah, it was I think it was 2004 when that 2004 storm came through, whatever that one was. And man, that's 21 years ago. Man, I am old now. Anyway,
it's been old. Thanks for that.
But most of my office park flooded. I was the only one that didn't completely flood, but I had like an inch of water like coming in the front door, going under the server racks. There were like 3 or 4 racks in there at that point. Hosting wasn't really a thing yet, and went out the back door. So didn't really lose anything, but it was a pain for cleanup and drywall and all that.
Kind of lucky.
I got really lucky because all the other offices had to evacuate. They ended up having to like go to different office space. Mine was apparently just like a couple inches higher.
Well,
this is turning into the Unnamed Flood podcast because
no, this is good. We got incident response.
Podcast.
We have incident response planning, business continuity planning, disaster recovery.
So
this is on par.
So we had a client that was Memorial Day weekend, and I had a client and a friend in the building. The guy that was on the 3rd floor got an alert that he got a water sensor alert on the 3rd floor. Turns out a water main broke in the basement of the building, which had all the electrical, all the incoming electric. Apparently, the circuit breakers don't blow when they go underwater. It filled the basement of the building turned into a swimming pool, superheated the water, and it was steam coming up through the thing that actually set off the smoke detectors upstairs.
Oh my gosh.
That building was uninhabitable for several months. And it was middle of summer, it was late summer. It was going into summer, I guess. And these guys, I had one client that was in there and still working out of his office with generators outside. But crazy, the breakers didn't blow.
I don't envy anybody with water issues. Water's not fun.
No, that's wild.
I had like a minor leak in my kitchen a couple months ago, and now I have one of those water sensors because I don't ever want it to happen again.
I got one for our sub pump because it fails like every couple of years because our sub pump runs all the time because we have high water table in our house. So it is never fun when it floods. But we have a topic. We talked about this last week a little bit. Bob is the center of attention here for this.
Uh-oh.
Yep. So
what about the Bobs?
So we talked about Dragon Force last week, hitting somebody that Bob knows, and involved. We know it involved a firewall, everything like that. So continuing on that theme, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. One about supply chain attacks. That's important. So all the people that you do business with. But I found some information about firewall attacks that are happening right now outside of Dragon Force. So Black Basta has been using a tool for a couple of years. It's called Brooted, and it is brute forcing these firewalls that are on the internet. So I want to give you a vendor list because we didn't have a vendor list last week. We talked about random vendors, right? The vendor list: Cisco, Fortinet, Palo Alto, SonicWall, WatchGuard, and then Citrix for their NetScalers.
All the above, then.
Yes, and then they have another tool that attacks Windows remote desktop web instances as well. So it actually goes out, it scans to collect the data on the subdomains and the IP addresses. It extracts the SSL certificate data to generate password guesses for specific organizations.
Oh, geez.
Wow.
Good stuff.
It's wild.
I've always said that the hacking groups have better support tools than a lot of the IT tools that are out there.
Well, it's all about automation, right? Because why am I going to manually do this if I can make a tool that can automate it and go out there and look for VPN firewalls and just attack them, right? And poor password hygiene seems to be a common thing in the world. I mean, we look at passwords all the time for people. I did a risk assessment. I'm going to be presenting next week, and 1Password has shown up in breaches 170,000 times.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm not going to say what it is. It's not good. It's very short. Good. Yeah. So that's what's out there right now. So if you have a firewall, there's VPNs, because a lot of people like VPNs. That's what's happening. And if we go back to what we talked about with supply chain attacks, what if you're not managing your firewall? What if you're relying on somebody else to manage it? Are they doing what they say they're doing?
Or worse, what if you're co-managing and nobody's really managing it? And nobody really knows who's changing what?
Uh-oh.
So who's in charge?
So when there's confusion, what happens? Nothing.
Nothing happens. And, we've seen cases where people have logged into the firewall for 3 months and had a pop-up that said it's time to apply there's a new patch available to fix a problem. You want to do it now? And it didn't happen.
For 3 months?
3 months.
Oof. Ouch. I mean,
Fortinet patched their OS in January 24th, 23rd, 24th, something like that. And they actually pushed it out as a alert that came out when you logged into the Fortinet, and it says there's new version.
But devil's advocate,
nobody thought to ask the other place, like if you're the company and you think the other place is managing, you think they would be like, hey, should we do this? Are you doing this? Who's doing this?
What if you just never log in the firewall? You never see the message.
That's true.
Oh, then it's fine. No, it's not.
But to that point, if you're responsible for it, you can subscribe to these advisories for most of these companies.
Mm-hmm.
So when something major comes out, they send you an email.
So here's the thing: when the Fortinet one came out in January, I was going back through my email looking. I got so many different alerts from so many different vendors about it that I didn't have to be subscribed to Fortinet specific to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's us. Let's be real. That's us.
Yeah.
It depends on who you are as a business. Whether maybe, if they get subscribed to other things and they actually get that data. But the easiest one is to subscribe to any kind of security advisory from the vendor.
Yeah, and in this case, I think there was definitely multiple people thinking about it, looking at it, but they didn't want to reboot their firewall because they have people working all the time.
That's not a good excuse.
We're not working after that happened, though.
Do you know what shocks me to that point about just small and medium businesses? Just the total disregard for downtime windows.
Mm-hmm.
Even enterprises, specifically enterprises, have downtime windows where things get done because it has to get done. I used to help support a hospital, and their downtime window was the worst. It was like 1 to 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Everything had to be done. EMRs had to be updated. If the EMR was going to get updated, it had to be electronic medical records.
Yep.
That had to be updated between 1 and 6. They had to have a plan so focused on how to do the change, and then they had to have a backup plan.
Yeah.
It was change management. It was a nightmare to go through change management, but it was worth it because you have such a short window. You have to get all this stuff done. What are you going to do if something fails?
Lots of planning, lots of organization.
And we get that people are 24/7. Like some companies are 24/7, but you have to have a downtime window, or something like this can happen.
Yeah, something's got to get fixed at some point, and if it's not, you're going to get your downtime window when you don't want it in a way you never wanted.
I'll go back to, and some people will say, well, it costs us money. I'll go back to what I heard another CISO say. He said, I'm going to get my budget one way or the other. Either you're going to give it to me now, or I'm going to get it later.
I love that.
Meaning after an attack. And
I love that.
Dang, man. That's
yeah.
So that's one of my favorite things.
The funding's approved before the attack, but it will be after, right?
Yeah. And a lot of times the budget is way higher than it would have been.
The other one I heard recently was logs are cheaper than lawyers.
That's good. That's good.
To be fair, a lot of things are cheaper than lawyers. So that's a good one. Well, just doing basic hygiene stuff is cheaper than lawyers, cheaper than attack. But here we are.
It's like brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
We can think of a lot of analogies of a good foundation making it cheaper so the whole house doesn't fall over. Oh, there's another one, but whatever.
No, it's fine. You just buy a house. You don't look at it. You don't get an inspection. That big crack in the wall, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Oh, it's okay.
It's fine. It's absolutely fine. Is that water? No, it's not water. It's just our walls are crying because they want you to buy this house so bad.
Jesus.
So we've gone all kinds of different ways today.
Yeah. So
we do.
But when you look at it though, like real companies get hit. They get hit by these kind of attacks. But things like that, like a supply chain, if somebody else is supposed to be managing something and they're not doing it, they're putting you at risk.
Mm-hmm.
And then ultimately it's you're accountable for all the stuff that you have inside your business. Even if you tried to transfer some of the responsibility to somebody else, you're still accountable for it. And you is going to be the owner, an executive, whoever's been tasked with that inside the organization. And when somebody doesn't, and in this situation, if somebody was co-managing it and they're supposed to be patching the firewall, that's not going to be a good day for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to be a lawsuit at some point. You're going to get fired. Like if we didn't do something we were supposed to do for a customer and we breached, and that led to a breach, I wouldn't think for a second they wouldn't sue me. Unfortunately, even though we try to do everything perfect. I mean, we're all human at the end of the day. Perfection isn't really possible, but you have to be pretty damn close to it.
Mm-hmm.
We try.
Yeah. We document things. We try to make sure that people are safe, make good decisions. I keep seeing more and more supply chain problems out there. I think Bob, you've talked about that before. Yep. You're working with companies dealing with this, and unfortunately, it can lead to a breach. And then you have a bad day, then a bad week, then a bad month. And things happen. But next week, I think we're going to go live from. You want to go live from there?
Well, as we can, might as well.
Live from the flood zone.
Yeah.
I'll bring my boat. I don't have a boat. I have a kayak, so squeeze it.
Whose laptop are we risking to shoot this episode?
Bring an iPad. Cheaper to lose.
Cheaper to lose? Yeah, really? Okay. But
I actually
maybe we need an old computer, old laptop that can also serve as a flotation device. Something with a lot of volume in it.
All right, gentlemen. I will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah, bye. We'll see you next week.